You're good, don't worry. We're back. It's Grok Talk, brought to you by GrannyGrok.com and the Coalition of New Hampshire Taxpayers from lovely downtown Concord. Main Street is blocked off. If you're planning on heading this way, good luck finding a place to park.
And their picnic is coming up soon.
The CNHT picnic is on the 9th of July. We talk about it every week. Tickets are...
Do you know why they changed the venue?
Yeah, they had a... Well, yes. They had a problem with guns.
What? It's a gun-free zone. They changed where we've always had it. They said no more guns.
God, are you serious?
No more guns.
The person who runs it now, apparently the national organization doesn't care, but it's a local thing. So whoever the woman is that's in charge doesn't want anybody there.
Where is it now?
So we should let the criminals know.
It's going to be in Manchester. Go to CNHT.org.
I will. I'll check it up. I haven't checked it up.
Thank you, CNHT, for changing the venue.
Holy moly.
Absolutely.
What a job.
You like that?
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, I think
Pam, Ian, and I showed up strapped with firearms, right?
Yeah, and there's people raffling them off there.
Of course they're
and all
raffling
kinds of
them
crap
off.
going on.
Come on.
I think we were the ones that, Steve and I were the ones that kind of precipitated it because we were there early setting up Grok Talk, and we walked in, and the lady who runs it, and I don't know her name, she kind of looked at us, and then a few minutes later, Ed Nail came over and said, "Oh, by the way."
Yeah.
My, oh, my. I did
Do you
not
like
know
that?
this. So we have to make sure people know where it's going to be because I'm fairly in it, and I did not know that.
Yeah,
CNHT.org.
everybody needs to be very clear that it's changed to Manchester.
I posted the map and everything and the details on Granite Grok. You can search for the CNHT picnic there. You'll get 6,000 hits.
Okay.
But
I'll pick it up, too, and put it
But
put
you
it
can
on
go to
ours.
CNHT.org, and they have all the information there.
Okay.
All right, so I want to play this because this is just awesome sauce right here.
Let me ask you another question about the terrorism list. What process is afforded a U.S. citizen, not someone who's overstayed a visa, not someone who crossed the border without permission, but an American citizen, what process is currently afforded an American citizen before they go on that list?
I'm sorry, there's not a process afforded the citizen prior to getting on the list. There is a process should someone feel they are unduly placed on the list.
Yes, there is. And when I say process, I'm actually using half of the term due process, which is a phrase we find in the Constitution, that you cannot deprive people of certain things without due process.
Sure you can.
Sure you can.
So I understand Mr. Good's idea, which is wait until your right has been taken from you, and then you can petition the government to get it back. I understand that that's his idea. My question is, can you name another constitutional right that we have that is chilled until you find out it's chilled, and then you have to petition the government to get it back?
And the answer is no. She can't answer that question. He goes through the whole list of amendments, the entire
him.
Bill of Rights, and she's just like deer in the headlights. Just can't.
Was Kelly Ayotte sitting in front of him as he was going through this wonderful diatribe?
No, this was in the House. She was in the Senate. She was probably somewhere else.
She's basically doing the same thing. We'll give you due process.
The Department of Safety is doing that now. Maggie Hassan has endorsed it. State Democrats have endorsed it through their stupid pistol license. You can be denied based on what a police chief thinks about you. And you can't do anything about it unless you lawyer up and go to court. Same thing. Same thing. Come on.
Yes.
But we like discrimination here in New Hampshire. If we're Democrats, we love discrimination.
Well, it's completely clear over what's going on now in D.C. that the Democrats have finally become very open. That they
not just
despise.
Democrats.
Well,
it's our own party.
Progressive.
Kelly Ayotte hates us. Come on.
Yes, but I'm saying the ones that are most vehement about it, the Republicans are being pulled behind those that are weak-kneed and weak-minded, like Kelly Ayotte.
She is neither.
I think that Susan Collins and Ayotte and their ilk
they're just
are
as
doing,
bad.
Not bad, they're worse. They are doing more damage because they affect ones that are in the political mindset to perhaps be more cognizant of our Second Amendment. And by jumping that shark, they are hurting the planks of not only the Republican Party but also our founding principles. They are damaging. And you know what? We sit here and we keep talking about the political aspect of all of this. You can't even fight this politically anymore. We're so far gone that it doesn't matter about the political entity anymore. We have to start debating on the correctness of the founding period.
Well, we have been ever since we
I know
were
we
founded.
have,
I had
absolutely.
to make the due process argument this morning. I have some friends on Facebook who were talking about guns, and I'm on this side or that, whether you're on this side or that side, and I said, this has nothing to do with guns.
It doesn't.
This just has.
No.
This is a little crowbar to crack open due process a little
Right.
further, so that they can get inside
That's
there.
right.
And once they're inside there, they will keep prying until you have no rights, unless you go to court to fight for them. Which means only rich people have rights,
Right.
because they're
Which
the
means
ones
there are
who
no
fight
rights.
for it.
Right,
Because
exactly.
you're already
They're
at risk.
privileges.
You're already at risk of losing your cash, your car, or your house if they just decide it might, in their opinion, have been used for something nefarious like a drug deal.
Correct.
Or somebody actually planted a marijuana plant in your backyard.
Or you're speeding.
Not even that. What if you're on? Don't we already have the plan now, the blueprint in place here in New Hampshire? That even if you're, let's say, on some psychological, medication, or you're in treatment for something, now you can. That's a hair's breadth away now from being on that list.
And then they can just put you on that
That's
list.
right.
And
Right.
and
Disgusting.
New Hampshire wants to do that. New
I know.
Hampshire has been fighting
That's
to
where they're
have
going.
those documents sent to the National Institute for Crime Statistics, and even there's this program called NICS, National Instant Criminal Background Check System, and it is sponsored by the National Shooting Sports Foundation. And they talk about the fact that, my goodness gracious, there's this pesky 10th Amendment that prohibits states from being compelled to provide information to the feds so they can remove your rights and you don't know about it.
Right.
And as part of that, and we fought this 2 years ago, Senate Bill 244, mental illness is not a crime,
Right.
But New Hampshire Republicans, New Hampshire Democrats, the governor believe that, mentally ill people are necessarily
Yeah. You have to
crazy
take
and
them.
violent.
Right, and you have to
Okay.
take it away from them.
And you
right?
have to absolutely eliminate their rights, and they do it automatically. So it's New
here.
Hampshire's just as guilty.
I know.
And the only reason it got stopped is because, God bless their tacky cotton socks, the American Civil Liberties Union weighed in and said, "Wait a minute."
And they've weighed in on this due process
Yeah,
for
interesting, yeah.
the no-fly list as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
They're against
and
it,
bless
yeah.
them for that. How is it that a local police chief or Kelly Ayotte or someone can look you in the eyes and know what's in your heart and in your soul and in your mind, and that just by that they can take your rights away?
Yeah, you can't do that in a court, but you can do it.
But
You can do it in some New Hampshire courts. What are you talking about?
No. Theoretically, you're not supposed to be able to just
Hypothetically.
Hypothetically, but the truth is so many of these ills are fixable if the states just grew a pair.
No,
I mean, what is going
prob-
on with us
I
not?
can tell you exactly why. And I used the word dismal earlier in the intro, talking about the 10th anniversary of Granite Croc. I have this ongoing
That
page.
didn't sound right.
Huh? What?
There's nothing dismal about Granite Croc.
Thank you
but
very
some-
much.
But,
Please
But I
proceed.
used I used the
but
word
some
dismal.
of the news can be
Yeah,
depressing.
but that soundbite would have been like,
Yeah. Right. But my ongoing page, progressives and their view of the proper role of government. And you look through that list, and there are Republicans on that
Absolutely.
list. And you go, they don't care about the Constitution anymore. And that's really the root cause of this all.
You are correct.
In that if you do not have a belief that these are boundaries over which you cannot step or tunnel under or go around, we would be okay. The problem is that too many people look at the practical. They've got an ideological end game that they want to get to, and they don't care about it. And I think that right now with this no-fly, no-buy,
You want
and
terrorists to
Citizen-
have guns?
and Citizens United, and now you see the Democrat attorney generals of the various states going after the climate deniers.
yes, isn't that nuts?
Well,
Oh my goodness.
well, finally we saw a bunch of Republican AGs going, well, we can play tit for tat as well, but that's still wrong.
My goodness, that we
But
even
you
have that
look,
in the dialogue.
but the fact that we even have to talk about this nonsense, that these people will not respect the barriers that our founders put up,
Yeah.
means that we are in deep sneakers. And over the 10 years, I have seen this just not just increase in quantity, but in speed. I am
you live in
aghast.
interesting time.
Indeed.
I look at this terrorist stuff. The Democrats, you got to say, they've done the right thing. They've changed it from being about Islamic jihadism, and they've turned it into a gun battle. And basically, I don't mean that from a discourse standpoint, but it's all about guns to them.
Sure.
They don't understand. You don't get rid of gun violence until you change the heart of the person holding the gun.
No, they understand clearly. They understand clearly. What's happening now is no different than what George III expected from the colonies. When you think about it, you go back to 1600, New Year's Eve, Elizabeth I charters the East India Company, right? And the idea of the East India Company, forgive me, you know this.
Some of it. It's always good to get a refresher.
Was to seek new trade routes, to use the courage and the inventiveness and the self-reliance of a little tiny island people to go out and discover new worlds and make the lives better for their citizens through trade, through increased resources, exactly. So these guys sail off into the world and they find tea and they find silk and they find all of these marvelous things.
Grapefruit.
You know, I'd forgotten about grapefruit, but you're absolutely right.
Had to fight that scurvy somehow.
Yes, so they find all of these marvelous things and they bring it back and people decide, yes, I like this, and they work hard to be able to afford it and it becomes part of their lives. And then after a while, you know, the Dutch and the Portuguese and the Spaniards, these guys, whoa, wait a minute. Why should we let the English, you know, have all of this stuff? We want part of that action. So they send their guys out, and then they got to arm up the East India Company to defend these trade routes and to establish armed camps at their places in India or not Sri Lanka, but whatever the hell it was called when it was there. But the point is that they ended up having to change these into an armed camp to fight off the other guys who wanted a piece of the action. So what ends up is they're spending more money defending the trade routes than they are making the lives better. So flash forward 163 years, right, to the colonies. And all of a sudden, England has just come out of its last really big, expensive war to defend their trade routes, and they're out of money. All of a sudden, the East India Company is too big to fail. So how are we going to fund it, guys? Well, you know, there's these dumbasses across the pond in the United States, and they're over there, and they're hard workers, and man, they got brick buildings, and they got all kinds of stuff going on. Let's just tap a little bit of that. Well, you know what? The folks here didn't like that very much, and then all of a sudden they start saying, "Well, gee whiz, we think you need to be sending us money," and the whole bit about the Tea Party. Let's understand clearly that it was not a tax on tea. What happened is the British government decided that we are going to eliminate the right of colonists to sell tea. We're going to broker the deal. Sound like health care? So they go in and they nationalize.
Alcohol in New Hampshire.
They nationalize the tea business. And the colonists are going, wait a minute. You're just going to take my business from me and I get nothing for it? Well, then they get a little bit angry about it. So what are you going to do? How are you going to quell this turmoil? How are you going to stop it? Well, you know, you restrict trade routes, okay? You prohibit the import of goods from competing countries, whether it's the Dutch or the Portuguese or Spain. And that didn't work because, you know, we're pretty creative people here. So the last thing is we're going to disarm them, okay? What are they going to do? If we disarm them, then they can't fight back. Well, that was kind of a mistake. So this is nothing any different, except King George now lives in Washington. And his whole court, and his courtiers, and his courtesans, and the train holders, and the coat holders, and the snuffers are saying the only way to keep them quiet is to disarm them. You know, none of you are science fiction freaks. Maybe some of you are.
I am.
I am.
The 2006 version of Battlestar Galactica, Caprica, who's the Cylon, says, it's happened before.
That's too new science fiction for me.
It's happened before. It'll happen again. We're just doing this all over again.
You're correct. You're correct
Okay,
about the
so
status.
baloney. God bless Britain for doing it. How many times they threw the Romans out, they threw the Normans out, they threw all these people out.
Now they married the Normans.
Well, they did have relations with the Normans. That's true. But and now they've thrown out the EU. That's just another King George. And now Neil Farage is saying maybe we ought to relax the gun laws in the UK. Hello.
Well, that is the difference. What was the difference between a citizen and a subject? Citizens can arm themselves.
Absolutely, they can arm themselves.
Yeah,
I'm a citizen.
Yeah.
Yes. Now the problem is that they no longer teach the Constitution or the founders' philosophy in schools anymore, because of exactly what your little story illustrates. Because if our mal-educated youngins understood our history properly, instead of the leftist garbage of Howard Zinn-ism, if
We
you
should
want to
start
put
with
that
the
way.
Magna Carta.
Yeah, well, we should.
Ease them into it.
That was appeasement, yeah.
So I was actually going to ask Tony, who's just joined us. Tony is Mama's brother.
Nice to see you back, Tony.
Do they teach the Magna Carta or the 16th, 17th century Bill of Rights anymore in schools?
Not in most schools.
Yeah, so
Certainly not in state schools.
same thing.
In fact, most people would be hard put to say what the Magna Carta is about.
Mm-hmm.
They
Is
have
it a
very
kind
little
of
idea
coffee
it.
or tea? Is it
No.
a food item of some
It's a
sort?
big cart, right?
No, that's
cart.
very
Big cart.
disappointing
It's a big
to hear,
cart.
because I've been wailing about this now for probably at least the last 8 years, is that our public school systems do not properly teach our history, and it's only getting worse, and it's only going to get worse, because we conservatives have gotten out of the education system, and we see we're reaping the problems of that.
You know what? I have to say, just as it's not really a non sequitur about this. I've full time now. I've been offered a gig at Founders Academy in Manchester.
Oh,
And
congratulations!
Thank you. I'll be teaching music there. But as part of the educational process there, they have something called Open Roundtable, which happens 4 days a week with each class throughout the school, 6 to 11 right now. It's going to grow 6 to 12. And when I received a 24-page packet yesterday, I sent off an email like you can't believe to Founders Academy. All proper and comprehensive training of the Constitution and our founding documents are mandatory through not only just teaching them, but in trying to get it into our daily lives.
Excellent.
At the round table 4 days a week at Founders Academy. The real thing. So, I mean, thank God I know of one school in New Hampshire
Right after the break.
that's taken this seriously. So, Founders Academy is a good institution, and they're trying to build leadership directly from the founding principles of the Constitution.
Wow.
Yeah, I should show you these. Unbelievable. I cannot wait. I'm going to be teaching chorus. Right?
Do they
Chorus
need a
director.
firearms instructor?
I'll tell you what, Susan. I was sitting here and the wheels are turning. I'm going to start connecting you with someone that you would love this. The fact that they are actively trying to instill what you're supposed to understand about this country's founding, and in present day New Hampshire, to me is just, I can't tell you how excited I am.
That's wonderful.
That is wonderful. All right, we'll take our break a few minutes early because Kimberly's on the phone and we want to bring her into the conversation. Everybody hang on. This is Grok Talk with a whole room full of you people. We'll be right back.
From the CNHT studios in Concord, New Hampshire, just a few blocks from the New Hampshire State House, this is
Grok Talk.